Hello and welcome everyone to another presentation in our ongoing Rallyware webinar series. Today, I'm excited to be able to bring together top direct selling leaders from Nu Skin, New Avon, and Pampered Chef, who will share how they are supporting their field during this unprecedented time. And yes, these times are like nothing we've seen before. And that brings with it a fear of the unknown, trepidation about the future. So, what can we do today to help and support our independent distributors? As we set the stage for this conversation, let's think about what our sales force is currently experiencing and how that's impacting their business. Social distancing, and in some cases now, shelter in place, stay at home orders are in place. So no longer are we able to go out, meet person to person, hold those in-home events, do those door-to-door sales. So that's certainly something they're dealing with. Job losses and reduced hours. As we know, the majority of our sales force does not engage in direct selling on a full-time basis. But now, if they've been laid off or their hours have been reduced, there is a sudden critical need for additional income or even full-time employment. Physical store avoidance. So what can we do to provide the product that they cannot physically go and get? Focus on health improvements. Health and wellness companies, you've got a great opportunity right now in spite of this being a time of crisis. Online connectivity and networking. So no matter where our sales force is today in their technology journey, they've been forced to really learn how to connect online. And finally, especially again for those health and wellness companies, the importance of compliance at a time of crisis, that we are not making claims just because we want to make those sales out there. So as we think about COVID-19's impact on direct selling, we'll be asking our participants how their companies are addressing the issues. In addition, I'm going to share a little bit about what Rallyware has seen across our many direct selling clients. And finally, we'll open it up to questions that we can ask all three of our presenters. That means, as you listen, please enter any questions you might have that you would like addressed at the end, and we'll get to as many of those as time allows. So without further ado, I'd like to begin by introducing Kim Welling. Kim is from Nu Skin, where she's the program manager, global sales and operation. Kim, thanks so much for being with us today. Can I ask you to share with our listeners a bit about your background, your current role at Nu Skin, and what that involves?
Absolutely, and thanks for having me. Really appreciate this opportunity. My name is Kim. I've been with Nu Skin for over 3.5 years, with over 10 years in corporate training and education. It's a wonderful field to be in, especially during these times. I've recently earned a master's degree in education with learning and technology, which has been crazy timely for this global situation. I currently oversee Nu Skin's Global Learning Center, which uses the Rallyware platform, and it's launched in 17 markets in 4 regions, and is also found in 6 different languages. So we are really happy to be able and excited that we have a platform put into place to be able to reach our various brand affiliates and sales leaders. Regarding my day-to-day responsibilities, I collaborate with these markets and region heads to determine journey mapping content for their individual regions, task development, video production, compliance, regulation, translations, integrating content into the Learning Center, and then following up with KPI tracking. So we really see the overall launch and follow up for our distributors' learning and progress. We're also working with additional regions and markets in preparing them for additional Learning Center launches. So no shortage of work to be done for sure, but it's an exciting time to be involved with this.
I'm tired just listening to all those job responsibilities, Kim. So at Nu Skin, what kind of effect have you seen on the business from the pandemic?
You know, as far as the business effect, direct selling is an amazing field to be in right now. Our sales leaders typically work from home. They typically work with their friends and their family, their contacts, their social contacts, and so work is really going on as it has in the past. With an emphasis, however, on a lot of social sharing. And so regarding our business operations, you know, we have, regarding our company with Nu Skin itself, we've put in a home initiative to stay home and work from home since mid-March. And it's continuing on till the first part of May. But globally, our offices are doing the same thing. We certainly have plenty of Zoom meetings now with creative virtual backgrounds and such, but you know, really our main goal is to continue communicating internally with our sales force and also with our customers, and maintaining business practices, maintaining our operations, our distribution, and our support as we have before, with an added increase of supporting our sales leaders in the field.
So you talked a little bit about, you know, it's true, our sales field is so much more used to working remotely from home and from a distance than, you know, when we had to transition our corporate coworkers to that environment. What kind of, have you realized or seen a type of impact on those sales leaders out in the field? What have you heard from them or through the grapevine that's affecting them most of all? Can you share a little bit about that?
I think what is affecting them most of all is that those of our sales leaders who are used to doing one-to-one business, face-to-face, is now an issue, right, with this pandemic. And so many of them are turning more towards this social sharing and reaching out via technology. And so we are seeing an increase in ask of content, of training content, of content that they can share with their teams or with their prospects. And so we're doing what we can on our end to be able to fulfill those requests as quickly as we can and ensure that they have the material and the support needed. One thing that's been pretty cool on our end is we've reached out to our leaders and asked them for their support as well. We have internally, we have a segment on our internal homepage that we use where we're having our distributors and our sales leaders give us advice of what are the best practices to work from home, as all of Nu Skin employees are also working from home. And so that's actually been wonderful to have them give us their insights and their support and their tips and tricks, because they are the experts at this, and we respect that and really love the input that they're sharing with us.
That's got to be fun for them, unique for them, that the home office now is asking them for advice on exactly how to be more effective and efficient at working remotely. So that's a great suggestion, you know, to engage your field, to be a part of that and that kind of thing. And then you were talking about, you know, seeing a need or request for more content, that type of thing. In fact, some of our corporate leaders, Rallyware clients, you know, were chuckling because they, like you, have over the years provided all of this kind of content, and you just don't see the kind of adoption rate or participation that you sometimes hope for that way. And now all of a sudden they are, coming to you and saying, hey, oh, I didn't know we had this. What about this? So it's been interesting to see not only them request more, but I think finding out about the tools you already had in place that it's going to help them through this crisis time.
Very much so. And just speaking to that, it's a wonderful platform. It's a great platform that we have to organize and to inform and to increase behavior and action, and also to be able to track completion and engagement with their learning. And what's been wonderful with some of our markets is their attentiveness to the opportunity and the really what is capable, the capabilities of this platform, and watching these teams rally, especially as we're working from home, and especially as we may not have since the social time is being removed, we have this additional time to really focus on providing content for our sales leaders that is on point, it's applicable, and to be able to rally together with, no pun intended, Rallyware, right?
I was going to say, we did not pay for that.
But to rally together with our different markets and teams and pull together really quite quickly to identify these current needs, and then collaboratively be able to provide this content. And it's great. I mean, it's a wonderful partnership, not only internally as we're working together, but also with our sales leaders. We really look to them as a partnership and a ability to work together, not just a top down, but a community helping each other in finding success.
That's great. Yeah, that, to hear that you guys are constantly engaging them and keeping that the lines of communication open with the field, especially in these unknown and uncertain times, has got to be a comfort on both ends, right? Not only from a corporate standpoint to know that they are engaged in the business out there, but especially from their standpoint to know that they've got the support of all of you at the home office.
Yeah, it's been great.
Thanks so much. I appreciate that. And we'll be calling on you in a couple minutes when we go to the Q&A. So
thank you.
Now I would like to introduce all of you to Amanda Robertson. Amanda Robertson, when at New Avon, her title is Head of Learning and Development. So Amanda, what does that mean to me? What's learning and development about at New Avon, if you share a little bit?
Of course. Thank you, Rich. And thank you, Rallyware, for inviting us to this webinar today. So as the head of learning and development at Avon, I oversee all of the training and activation activities for our field in North America. So we're looking at Puerto Rico, Canada, and of course, the United States. I run a team of 10 training professionals that range from facilitators to digital learning, content developers, technical writers, and some reporting and administrative functions. So we, looking at how things have sort of evolved so rapidly over the last couple of months, our field has done the same. In our field right now, we've got, Avon has been out there for quite some time, and we've got a couple of 100,000 representatives who are all looking to us for support. So very much like what Kim was mentioning, training has become, if it wasn't elevated before, it's definitely become elevated now for a couple of reasons. One, people have the time, right? So what better time to look towards some personal and self-development, not only from your direct selling business, but even those of us on the other side of the coin who are at home. But also, learning in a time where you may not have nobody's had previous knowledge on a situation like this. So really looking to how can you look and run and continue your business in a time that's just really unknown.
Yeah, it's nice to feel needed, right? Like you said, all of a sudden learning becomes a very hot commodity out there.
That's right.
So what has Avon seen as an effect on their overall business from what's been happening across US, Puerto Rico, Canada, that kind of thing?
So I think it's got to be pretty consistent. First was the initial shock, and this was kind of the shock felt worldwide, which is, I picture everybody kind of freezing in place and thinking, okay, what do we do? I mean, what do we do with life, let alone our businesses that we're running? So specifically at New Avon, we were dealing with two different issues. One were some closures. Our fulfillment facility was closed due to a state regulation for a period of time. And we just overnight, within a couple of hours, had to cease all operations. And that was really scary, not only for us, we didn't know it was coming, but also for our field. And it was, something we had to announce right away and then deal with some of the backlash, some of the questions around why didn't we get any notice, or how could we change this, or this is great. And we really saw very different ends of the spectrum in response to it, but we had to sort of address that in a very quick manner. And then also with, like I said, closure here, but also in some of the other countries. So dealing with different dynamics in multiple areas.
So that's very dramatic that you had, so it sounds like you had part of the supply chain impacted, so you could not even deliver product out there to the field or to customers as a result of that.
That's exactly right. And from a training perspective, immediately when things started to go on lockdown, it was, okay, great. Let's start pushing out some additional training and focusing not only on product, but how can you sell? How can you sell in an online environment? And shifting our focus, and then very quickly overnight thinking, okay, now we can't sell. What can we still do in order to keep the field engaged? Because everything we have has a call to action at the end, which is to provide the solution. Ask for the sale. How can you do those things? And that again stopped overnight.
Boy, that's dramatic. So was that the entire product line that was affected, or only certain portions of it?
It was. Everything comes out of our single facility. So it was a hard stop on every single item.
Because I thought maybe you would then use the training platform to start training on the products that were in stock. But yes,
right.
How do you
that would have been a great idea
with the complete shutdown?
Mm-hmm.
So are you back up and delivering product at this point in time?
We are. So fortunately, it was temporary. So we are back up and shipping products. So we were able to resume just about a week and a half, which now sounds like a short period of time, but 9 full selling business days, that's a big hit, not only to our business, but also to all of our distributors.
So once you open that door back up, did you see a smaller number of representatives were engaged in still doing the business, or did you see sort of like you open the floodgates and here they come?
I would say it was probably a mix of both, which put us back to sort of middle ground. So we had those, part of our strategy, and again, it's being nimble on a daily basis, was around, okay, we know that the shipping center, we know that we're closed, but please still place your orders. So if you have customers that are looking for product, we don't anticipate this being forever. So get your orders in, and then we will fulfill them first in, first out as soon as we're opened. So we were still encouraging our representatives to fulfill and provide those solutions for their customers. Sometimes that worked. Others were thinking, why would I place an order when I don't know I'm going to get it? So, hey, it was a strategy. And so once we were open, we did have a pipeline of orders that we had to fulfill. Others were still maybe a little hesitant, but I would say for the most part, it picked right back up to business as usual, which was really good news.
That's great to hear. Yeah, it's nice. Yeah, a week and a half had to seem like a year
An eternity,
to
yes.
all of you at corporate and out in the field, but it was nice then that some of them did take your advice, place those orders. So at least once you were back up and running, both ends of the equation were not only receiving orders, but then receiving product.
Exactly.
Perfect. Thanks so much for that. And with that, we will transition over to Jesse Stamm. Jesse is at the Pampered Chef. And Jesse, can you give us a little bit of insight into what are your responsibilities at Pampered Chef?
Sure, absolutely. I just do want a little transparency. That picture is a little off. Now that I've been home for working from home for actually, I think I'm up to 4 weeks now. I was in Paris on an incentive trip right before the borders were closed. So that started the slide, and it's just, you know, been a little different since then. So for any of you who are in the wellness space, I might need to give you a call. So for me, I oversee sales management and field development, training, field support for North America. So we have over 50,000 consultants and growing in North America, and really everything that has to do with training, it's close tying to communication. And we also, of course, are on Rallyware's platform as well.
So what has Pampered Chef seen as an impact on their business from this COVID-19?
Yeah, you know, I think initially, as was, you know, previously shared, I think that initially it was kind of, we were shocked. We didn't really know where to go. I mean, when it first started rolling out, myself and our CEO were in Paris and seeing this sort of happen, and we were playing it by ear. We had to make a call whether to go or not go with this group of leaders who worked all year to achieve this. So it was an interesting time. And as we got back in the country and were quarantined at that point, you know, I showed up to work, and an hour later was said, you know, we actually need to go in quarantine. The rules have changed as you came into the office this morning. And so that was a sign to us very clearly, like, okay, this is very different. This is a very different thing than we thought a week ago. And so we had to start that shift quickly. And I think for us, our focus was, how do we help from a mindset perspective for our field? And how do we keep them engaged, keep trust going? We spent a lot of time building trust, as we all do with our field, hopefully, building those relationships and building that trust. And so how do we stay really close and really connected? So we had to really understand where they were, where their minds were, what their feelings were. And we discovered that there were a couple segments with that. We had our people who hadn't quite been making an effective shift into a more virtual selling reality. Mm-hmm. So we knew that we had a bunch of consultants. Many of our consultants have really been shifting significantly to virtual just in general. And we had a lot of our power sellers who've been with us for years, you know, people who were buddies with Doris and our mega sellers are, you know, had not made that shift and run these huge businesses. And so how would they make that shift and lean in that direction? And this is before the stay at home. This was just, we saw what was coming. So we knew that we'd have to provide support for them. We had leaders who were a bit, you know, freaking out. We had to make sure that we had strong lines of communication with them as well. So we spent a lot of time on working with mindset regarding focus on the things you can control, and we can't focus on the things we can't control. So that initial messaging helped us and is still helping us through today. And we've actually, it's been a mantra that the field has even picked up where things do go negative at times, and they jump right in with, guys, let's focus on what we can control. We can't spend any of our time on the things we can't control. And so that's helped us because, you know, as you all know, every other day there's a new recommendation, a new rule, a new thing. And so people want 100% to be 100% sure of exactly how to proceed, right? They want to know exactly how to duplicate everything, and that's what we want for them. Well, the rules are shifting every day. So how do you live in that place when you don't know what you're going to need to duplicate the next day, or what the new way to introduce product, or the new way to introduce the opportunity? So focus on the things you can control. And another message we started right from the beginning was really being the light you want to see in the world, which is kind of pretty big, higher calling during the time. But we saw a lot of negativity out in media, and we saw it starting to creep into our field. So we really shifted the idea of, there's going to be a lot of stuff going on right now. There's going to be a lot of darkness out there. So be that light in the world, be loud on social media and proud of the solutions you can provide, not obnoxious, but be very vocal on social media and share, look, you're stuck at home, here's what we're making for dinner. And we're able to provide those solutions. So really leveraging our core values and taking it to that next level.
That's great. So let me, because Pampered Chef is known more as an event, party plan, kitchen show, tasting. I want to try that recipe out. And I know people are still, they have turned that into the virtual environment. I know those friends of Doris, as you were just telling us, but what type of training or assistance did you give that group who is not really virtual at making that transition?
Sure. So it's not for not trying. So we tried in the past to really help them see. And I think it was, I think maybe Amanda said it, that there's training available for all of these things, and we provide the training, but the use of the training is sometimes challenging, right? So what we did was we looked at this group, and we really split our slow adopters to virtual. We had the ones who had sort of tried it and wasn't their thing, and then the ones who really had no clue, they just didn't know how to do it. And we quickly pivoted and provided webinar series right out of the gates. Like, look, now's your time. Let's focus on the things that you do have control over, which is right now learning how to live in this virtual world for right now. You might not love it as much as you love being in person and being able to cook with all of your customers, but you can't do that right now. So don't you want to still be a support for them? Don't you want to provide solutions? And don't you still want to get a check? And so let's help you do that. So we provided sort of tiered support. We went out to a lot of our leaders. We did a call campaign from our field development managers and our sales managers, reached out to a lot of our heavy hitters and invited them personally to really get on board and come to some of these webinars, trainings that we were doing. And then for our larger field that was dabbling in virtual, but not quite really as intensely as some of our consultants, we started a webinar series, really a quick tips, and we also changed how our platform, how our instance of Rallyware is configured. So we previously had a learning path where consultants could decide whether they want to party in person or party virtually. And so we shifted that pretty quickly to remove that gate. So it just funneled them right to virtual because they can't party in person. So just funneled them to virtual. The other thing is we had some different party types that we do. We have some ability to do fundraising. And so we have kind of loosely supported that through communication. We immediately created some tasks specifically around that. And we also had an entire series for how to be effective at marketing yourself on social media. And we started elevating that and pushed that up in the task map so people, it would be really right in their face more so when they did our virtual training. So we moved a lot of support further up, and then we communicated that to everyone. And then in all of our webinars, we pushed them back into Rallyware to take those courses. Because a lot of people, if everything's going fine and you're getting the paycheck you want, and you don't realize that maybe you should learn some more about those things. All of a sudden, there's a fear of losing that income and losing everything you've built. All of a sudden, people are more open to hearing that there's more training available to them. So we've seen a big increase in people using Rallyware in this time, and specifically taking those more virtual training courses.
That's great. I really like how you as a company and you as an individual have tried to focus everything on what positives we can produce out of this that's happening. You know, how you can take those lemons and make it into lemonade that way. In fact, I heard somebody talk the other day, and he goes, I just want to get back to the kind of life that I used to be complaining about, right? So
Right.
that's
Yeah, and I think that's, you know, I think that it's important that we, in everything that we communicate to our distributors, our consultants, our salespeople, our reps, our designers, whatever we call them, is that optimism, you know, that optimism, and that this still works, that people want what we have. That didn't change. COVID did not change our mission. None of those things changed. If anything, it's heightened the need for what we do.
exactly.
And you can focus on all the other things, or you can focus on that which you can control. And another thing that we've been really communicating is, what you focus on flourishes. If you focus on the news and you focus on the negativity, that's what flourishes. If you focus on how can you be part of the solution, or how can you help other people, then that's what'll flourish.
That's exactly right. So I do think you are correct. You know, direct selling is always, we've prided ourselves that we're sort of the inverse to the economy, right? Economy goes south, direct selling can provide that opportunity. So whether it's that extra income, whether it's, you know, the opportunity for people to have full-time employment, that's a great thing. So Jesse, thank you for your comments. Amanda, I appreciate that. Kim, we're going to come back to all three of you in just a minute, but I thought what might be interesting, so we've heard from all three of these individuals who are in some way, shape, or form delivering content and education and learning and instruction, that not only has there been a great need for that, but there's been a great want for that out there, right? The field has been clamoring for that. So we took a look, our analytics group put together some very quick facts that I could share today. But as we took a look at just our internal analysis across our US markets, across our direct selling companies in the US, after the COVID outbreak and the quarantine was imposed in March, we started to see certain trends, right? So those direct selling companies who are using our platform that then we could look at statistics from, we saw a 22% increase in what they pushed out as new content, making that available for their sales force out there. And then the interesting thing, as you've heard from all three of our presenters, you know, I may not need that training, I may not need that content when things are going good, but if you look at that 160% growth in active users across all companies on the platform. So all of a sudden, the crisis, and they go to look for that tool that will help them through that crisis. And then as you heard some of the conversation so far today, you know, talking about I need to do this task and that task, whether they call them courses or tasks or activities, but a 3-digit increase, 120%, 121% increase in the number of completed tasks. So that's just sort of the engagement within the platform, but then what does that result in as far as the business outcome, right? So here, if we look at what happened as a result of that in the sales, we actually saw an increase of 10% higher sales across those companies and 12% more transactions, even with the new Avon being shut down for a week and a half and not being able to have that happen, you know, overall across all the companies. And then more than 2 times the number of users who made their first sale on time, online during that time period. So we talked, you know, everybody talked about moving virtual, moving online, things like that. So across all of our customers, we were actually able to see that more content, more consumption, more active users, and that all equated into more revenue dollars for those customers out there. So now I'm going to ask all three of our participants to sort of take yourselves off of mute. And let's see what we've got here for, I know I saw a great question come in here before. The question is, can you comment on how you are finding the balance between recognizing the seriousness of COVID and the world's preoccupation with it? And then actually selling, right? So this question comes from someone who's with a beauty company and they don't sell hand sanitizer, unfortunately, at this point. So some of their leaders really are hesitant to reach out and possibly offend customers by, looking to make that sale during this time. So I'm going to start with either Kim or Amanda, since you guys both really come from a company that represent those beauty products. Let's talk about those products in particular, or positioning, or the approach to people selling. Any comments on that question?
I have a few, if that's okay.
Please. Yep.
I think that kind of supporting on what Jesse was saying earlier, that when we're looking at this business, that we've got to look at it with the approach of that we're being a force for good, right? And that we want to improve people's lives. And if we're doing that by selling product or providing experiences or providing any kind of product basically that we are selling to enable that to happen, then we're going to find success and those sales are going to come. At this time, we have to be sensitive, but we also need to be creative in looking at the products that we do offer and finding a solution to the need that's out there. I think all of us have joked about, getting ready for the day or taking care of ourselves, or the pictures online of what our fingernails look like, right? Or what our hair looks like because we haven't been able to get to a salon or haven't been able to get out. And when you think of those types of things and looking at what you're actually providing product-wise, you're able to find that solution and make it very real that we still need to take care of ourselves, that we still need to have wellness at home, whether it's with a product or with a supplement or whatever we supply. But it is time to take care of ourselves, and that's okay during this time. Whether it's physically or mentally or emotionally, that we can do that. One of my favorite things that I've seen was a Mud Mask Monday, where we had a call where everyone showed up with their mud mask on. And that's how they had their call. It was fun. It was applicable. It made people feel better. But we're in this situation together, so let's find solutions to the situation that we're in, and sales will come. I mean, that's not why we're doing it. We want to have people's lives improved. So that would be a suggestion or a take that I would recommend.
I think that's a great perspective. Amanda, anything
Sure.
from your end of the world?
Sure, and I would agree. I think solution selling is really kind of the foundation of what we do anyway. But specific to that question, if you're thinking about, somebody's at a beauty company, is maybe having something, a new shade of lipstick, really critical right this moment, that might not be the right way to reach out to a customer and say, hey, we've got these great new shades for spring, probably won't fly as an approach. But very similar to what Kim was saying is thinking about the products that you do have. And at Avon, we have lots of different categories, from skincare, color, to health and wellness, even to fashion and jewelry, which right now is probably not the first question that we're asking. But it's thinking about those different solutions that we do have. And part of what we're looking at and how we're training our field is the way that you approach your customer might look a little bit different than you did in the past. So if you put yourself in the position of everybody across the country and think about how they're receiving information. People are glued to the TV more than they have been in the past because it's kind of all they have that's there. They're glued to their phones. And the way that they're communicating is all digital, and you don't have a lot of that face-to-face. So people are receiving information, in this new, not new, but maybe a more concentrated capacity. And so that's how you can also present the opportunity of the solution that you had, not so much as a hard sell. Rather, here's what, maybe you never were interested in my company. Maybe you didn't consider my Pampered Chef invite or my new skin virtual party in the past, but now you're at home and you might have that extra time. So guess what? Did you know that we actually have these mud masks? And what a fun thing that you can do and have these different parties. So in talking to our field, it's all around, again, going back to that solution and opportunity that you may have presented something in the past that somebody wasn't interested in, but today is a brand new day for all intents and purposes. So what better time to sort of present those opportunities again?
Yeah, that's a perfect perspective. And as a transition to our friend over here from the Pampered Chef, my wife and I have been doing more in-home cooking over the last 4 weeks than we'd ever been able to do time-wise previously, right? Exactly.
Well, there is that. And so that really has been an area that our field has been able to play in, because everyone is cooking, everyone is home, and people, they still need those solutions even more so than ever, because they can't eat out, can't cook 1 or 2 nights a week and eat out the other 3 or 4 or order as easily. So it's really every meal at home, and people are running out of ideas very quickly. So we've been able to fill a void for many and enhance what we've been doing. And really, I would say that our consultants who are getting out there, being very active on social, we're seeing engagement and hearing from them just anecdotally that they're going live on making lunch, and they're having 100 people watching them make lunch live with what they could scrounge in their pantry. So just really interesting things. But I will say one kind of story that, and we do have a history, I guess, Avon, you probably have a much longer history, but we do have a history of going through different economic challenges and different issues in the economy. Nothing quite like this, of course, but a story that we've shared with some of our top leaders, and it's not something we'd ever share at large, but I think it helped us really focus them a little bit on where we needed to focus as a company, and why we needed to really drive the conversation the way we were as a company. And that was, we remember during the time, it was just like 20 years ago, when the economy was really, really rough, unemployment was high. We did some conversations with leaders who were having strong businesses in areas that had the highest unemployment. And one of the areas, the unemployment was over 20% unemployment. And so one of our employees remembers this interview, and they interviewed this consultant and said, so how are you growing and thriving with 20% unemployment in your area? And this is where I would never share this with the field at large, but this consultant, not us, the consultant said, well, honey, I don't sell to the 20%, I sell to the 80%. And so, and I think that is the deal. There are going to be people who their circle of influence, they're in an area maybe that a lot of people are out of work, or they're in that situation, but there are still people out there who want to look and feel better, who are tired of sitting around and wearing sweats and want to, do their nails or something. There are people who never cooked but now need to. There are people who have, been eating obsessively and now are like, maybe I should start a weight loss program. And it's okay that it's a premium product for $400 a month. They never maybe before they never would have spent that, but they aren't one of the people who are out of work right now. So I think, again, it comes down to, you can only control the things you control. You can only focus on those things, because the rest of it's out of our control right now. So that's what we're doing. And it's the same as for recruiting. We have had really strong recruiting still. And again, if someone's out of work, it could be the prime opportunity for them. But on the flip side, we have consultants who've, of course, said to us and shared with us, they can't recruit right now because everyone's out of work and nobody can think about doing this. On the flip side, we have consultants saying, oh my gosh, I had 3 people who were out of work and I just was able to, their first month, they got a check for over $500. So again, we can only focus on what we can control.
That's exactly right. So next question, and I know all 3 of you are exposed to this. So we drive a lot of incentives and behavior in direct selling companies by promising and fulfilling those wonderful trips. Jesse just came back from Paris. So our question was, have you had to cancel any upcoming events, whether that be national conference, meetings, incentive trips, and how did you position that messaging to the field is where the question was.
I can go. This is Amanda. The answer is yes. We have had to postpone 2 of our incentives trips as well as our national conference. So the first one is our national conference, which was scheduled for end of July this year. And while we were sort of optimistic and thought, hopefully, fingers crossed, knock on wood, that the world will be restored by then, we realized that we couldn't promote and push attendance and registration in a time like this. So it was almost counterproductive when people wouldn't become excited about it and they wouldn't be investing their money. And that was going to affect our conference. So we did make this decision a couple of weeks ago, and actually our field was very, very receptive and truly relieved that we made the decision for them, because in a direct selling environment, convention that's the granddaddy of the year, where everybody comes together, and having to decide between your business and what you think might be safe was really putting some pressure on our representatives. So they were actually very, very relieved that we opted to cancel the conference for this year. Now we are working on an alternate solution. Don't have that fully locked, but we are looking every day at how we can actually do something in a virtual environment that brings the same, not the same experience, but a similar experience, collaborative experience that gives them what they're looking for that half of the year. And then just very quickly, a couple of our incentives trips. We had one scheduled for May that clearly wasn't going to happen. And then we did have a cruise, which I know was a taboo word right now, toward the end of the year. So, it was scheduled for November, which, feels so far from now, but not knowing what the appetite for getting on a cruise would be,
Yep.
We opted to postpone the trip for this May. And then it took to our field, and I forgot if it was Kim or Jesse, but we said, you know what, we've got this cruise, and who knows what the cruise scenario is going to look like. So we threw it back to our field and said, what do you want? What would you want this to look like, and where would it be? And so we're having some fun with some voting and some video submissions and really getting them to participate in what that next incentive will look like, and then pushing that out until the spring. And again, everybody's at home and being more creative than ever. So we are having a ton of fun with repurposing that incentive trip.
That sounds great. Kim or Jesse, any comments on events?
I can
Sure.
comment briefly. Oh, go ahead, Jesse.
Okay, thank you. So yeah, actually, yesterday we had an event. So we had a leadership level event that was scheduled for Monday and Tuesday of this week, and we had to pivot on that a few weeks ago. To when this all was happening, we had to quickly move to making that a virtual event, and didn't really have the time to explore some of the virtual conference platforms that are available. So we really had to be super scrappy and pull all the pieces together. And I can tell you, we had twice the number of attendees as we had registered for our in-person event. So we hit double the people that we would have been able to previously. We had great reviews. People were so thankful. It was all about leadership. So we were able to craft the message to exactly what made sense for right now. And so it was really, really great. I think great results. And I think having that open dialogue with our leaders really helped. We were communicating with them all along the way of how this is going to work, and really getting their buy-in and them helping us drive attendance, really about us all getting together and rallying around.
I love you guys.
I didn't even try on that one. So that was great. And we are looking at the rest of our events. We too are cruising along. And so what an interesting topic. I agree, Amanda. So we are navigating that as well. So we have conferencing and cruises, and so lots of conversations on all of those. But I do think that in general, our field, they want us to make the decisions. They do not want to be stuck, and they don't want to feel like they have to make a call, because we've worked with them and built these relationships that are so strong that they want to support what we're driving as their home office. They want to be partners with us. So when we put them in a difficult position, it doesn't feel good to them. So I do think it's our responsibility to kind of take some of that off their plate when possible, because they're going to want to come. But at the same time, it's maybe not the right choice, for a month from now when we don't even know what's happening.
So I've got 2 follow-up. Kim, I don't mean to cut you off. Did you want to add to that comment? I'm sorry.
I think you guys have said it perfectly, so we can move on.
So I got 2 follow-up questions that came in around the events. One was, do you think moving forward, when we come out of the whole crisis pandemic situation, that virtual events might be, we might use more of those than we have in the past? But then the interesting question, Jesse, when you were talking about the event you just held, the question was, do you charge the same or do you charge at all for a virtual event as you would have for a physical on-premise location type event?
Yeah, so for the event we just had, we didn't charge for that one. We refunded. It was during the when everything was happening, I guess it was a couple weeks ago, where when we pulled the plug on the actual in-person event, we refunded the registration, and we knew that they were already going to have some challenges with we also were able to cancel all the rooms, and that was no charge for that. We knew that some may have some challenges with airfare. There might have been other expenses. So we wanted to have a sign of good faith to say, look, we appreciate everyone who registered and was set to come to town, and you may have had expenses. So we're not going to, not that it would be insult to injury, but we didn't want the financial drain of this ticket during that time that was really challenging a few weeks ago, when there's so many things unknown, in addition to any of their other travel expenses that they may have not been able to recoup. Since then, we've discovered that pretty much they can recoup most of everything they would have spent. But at the time, we just really didn't have that information. And because we did it in a really scrappy way, I mean, we leveraged Zoom. So, we had the resources. We didn't charge, and we did that as a way to say, we're supporting you. This is a leadership event. We're coming together as leaders, and we're going to lead the way for our future, and let's do this together. So that was really the framing on it. Now, for national conference, where we're having, it's a very significantly different event where we'll be partnering with other vendors for it. We do all kinds of swag. That will be something we charge for.
Okay, all right. Kim or Amanda, on that comment of charging or more virtual events in the future?
Sure, this is Amanda. I can say for our annual conference, kind of the same as Jesse. So this is a much larger event where we part of coming to convention is you're going to walk away with the swag. So we wanted to still make sure that everybody has that experience. So we will be charging, and as a result, you will get swag that will be sent to you. But we will also have a free option. So we want people to join. We want them to be encouraged. So if you don't want to pay, you can still join for the experience and the content, but you may not get all of the goodies that go along with it. And there might be a couple of special sessions for those who paid for some more concentrated content. So we're actually going to offer both in an attempt to engage more of the field, even as just the opportunity, knowing that not everybody goes to conference, but they should all go to conference. So it's kind of like a marketing opportunity that just presented itself.
Yeah, it is. So along those lines, in an interest of time, I am trying to keep us under the hour in the respect of people's time out there who are listening. And those of you who are listening, there will be a recording of today's session provided. But one final question to all three of you. So we've heard from each and every one of you talking about what this crisis has done toward accelerating us toward more content, more engaged learning, online parties, use of social media, digital tools. So from your perspective, what do you think, once we come out of this, that future effect will be on your business? So I'm gonna start with Kim, since we haven't heard from you recently, and just so what do you, in your fortune teller, future seeking that I can see into the future, what do you think will stick as we move forward in some of these things that have happened during this time of crisis?
Thanks. This is we don't know what our new reality is going to be, right? What our new normal is going to return to. If anything, I think that the experience that we're currently going through has definitely opened all of our eyes to the importance of community, of communication, and being able to reach out and to really see the power of virtual communication, virtual trainings, and to be able to bring to the awareness of our field the different tools that they have available, the different means by which they can not only learn, but can interact, not only with the company, with corporate, but also with other sales leaders, to really form that support system in sharing ideas, in sharing information, promotions, marketing tools, it's just a wonderful opportunity for us to get our stuff in gear and to get organized on our end so that we can provide that content to the needs of our sales leaders, and do it in a way that we can do it collectively and in a community where we are supporting each other. So we're very optimistic about the realization of the power of digital sharing and social sharing. There's some great things that we have seen happen and will continue to happen as others who may have been focused on doing that one-to-one training will now perhaps look at this as an opportunity, as Jesse was mentioning. So we're excited for our future, excited for the business, and it'll be interesting to see where this takes us.
That's right. We're going to focus on the positive. Amanda?
Sure. I mean, I think that all sounds very similar. And, for us, kind of what I said in the beginning was training is very much in demand right now, which is wonderful. And where we've seen some really great response, we are also partners with Rallyware. So we've had a lot of digital training and a lot of these components that have been set up and ready to go. And now we're starting to see some more of that adoption. So your team has been amazing in working through that and really helping to elevate not only what we had, but how can we continue to build? Because very similar to what Kim was saying, I don't want to say it's going to be the new normal. We will all go back outside at some point. But now people have learned. They have learned how to work and survive and exist in a more digital environment. So we'll be able to leverage some additional opportunities, whether it's more events or whether it's more flexibility and even future forward quality of life. So again, optimistic and knowing that things will flex a little bit, but it looks like it could be in a really cool direction.
Thanks so much. And Mr. Stamm, your vision for the future.
Yeah, I think out of challenges like this, there are so many learnings and opportunities, and I think it's going to forever change how we do business. We had been shifting to virtual or more virtual than any time in our history. It's just, it was a gradual shift. And I think that this solidifies the need for that. However, what it also highlights is that there's no one solution. We have to be very agile and able to pivot quickly. And when you put all your eggs in one basket, you run a significant risk. And so what this is showing us is even more so, we need lots of options for people to succeed. We can't be a one and done sort of way to sell or share our solutions. So for us, it's opened our eyes significantly, and I think for our field as well, really being open and partnering with how do we have lots of options for our consultants. And I think from a learning and development perspective, really being able to, it's great to have a wonderful and beautiful product. It's wonderful to have everything buttoned up and perfectly communicated, but you have to have structures in place that if you need to, you can flip a switch and pivot quickly and not necessarily have to go through a full work back schedule of 3 months to make something happen. You might have to do it tomorrow. And do you have a system that will allow for that? Or is there too much structure or bureaucracy to make it happen? And that's problematic in these times. So making sure you're agile.
That's a great piece of advice. So from my end of the world, I would like to sincerely thank all three of you. Kim, Amanda, Jesse, thanks so much for your time and for your valuable input today. And from all of us at Rallyware, we want all of you out there to focus on staying safe and healthy. And as you heard from all of our presenters today, it's all about that fostering community and care with your sales force, because we know they're under all kinds of stress right now. So let's raise each other up through this journey together. And until next time, take care, everyone. And thank you so much for your time today.